Welcome to the Tim Castle Show, where I sit down with courageous individuals doing inspirational things around the world. Whether it's AI, crypto, mindset, leadership, negotiation and sales, I've got you covered. I sit at that nexus of disruption and change. I'm loving every second of this. I really do believe this is the most abundant time that we've lived in. And if we harness what's going on correctly, we can build businesses that are going to transform our future and your lives. So come with me on this journey, meet the people. I pull back the curtain, I find out who they really are. I started off building this podcast for my sons as something they could look back on later in life and see the conversations that their dad had with people that he respected and admired, but most of all, get the lessons. And now I'm sharing those lessons with you and the reasons that people had done things, the ambition, the passion, and the hardship and their vulnerabilities. And I actually really enjoy it. This is one of the most special times as I get to sit down with people that I really would love to chat to and ask them the questions that are burning in my mind. If you are the same as me and you're pushing the limits and the edges of what you do, please like and subscribe to the show. It helps me tremendously to get new guests on the show and expand that reach so we can help more people together. Welcome back to the Tim Castle Show, the podcast where we decode human behavior, master influence, and learn what it really takes to win in business, negotiation, and life. Today's guest is one of the most influential thinkers on human behavior in the world. His book, Surrounded by Idiots, has sold over 14 million copies and been translated into many, many languages around the world. And it's completely changed how people understand communication, leadership, and relationships and themselves. So if you've ever wondered, why do people keep misunderstanding me? Why do brilliant teams clash? Or why does this person think so differently to me? Today's episode is going to hit you like a lightning bolt. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Thomas Erikson. Thank you for coming onto the show today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
I have been very excited about this conversation that we're about to have. And not only just because the title of the book, Surrounded by Idiots, I mean, it's a bold title. It's strong. It stands out. It's provocative. What I wanted to know was there a personal moment in your life that made you realize that we deeply misunderstand each other or that we are in fact surrounded by idiots?
Yes, I would like to say this is my eureka moment, but there's actually quite a few of those. Some milestones in my, let's say, career of misunderstandings and stupid me messing things up. One thing in particular that strikes is the fact that I got my first managing position at the age of 24. I was a great sales guy. I could sell anything to anyone. So when I was applying for a sales, let's say sales team leader kind of position, let's call it, I said to myself, of course I can do this. If I can sell, of course I can lead. I mean, how hard can it be? And yeah, when you're 24, you're pretty smart. At least I was. I'm not that smart anymore, unfortunately. I grew out of that. But the thing was, it's a really long story, but in a few words, I messed it up badly. Anything they came to me with, well, how should we go about when it comes to this? And I said, well, you better fix that. Well, how about that? Well, fix it. Well, how about this? Fix it, fix it. I didn't know. I was busy being a manager here. You see, I didn't know any all of these details. And it got turned really, really bad. And after, let's say, 6 months, something, I realized something is going oddly off rails here. I can't seem to connect with anyone really. And I went to my my manager's manager, really 2 levels up, and said, "You better take me out of this equation. I think I'm doing a bad job." And he said, "You bet." His response was word by word, "You better stay put, Sonny, because your boss is even worse than you. She's not even here. So you better sort of kind of survive the situation." After a year, I managed to get out of it. And you know, when you sit around a coffee table, you know, someone baked a cake and you're drinking some coffee, they hand you a present, some gift of some kind, wishing you the best of luck on your next future career step. And well, whatever. Uh, that was an awkward moment because the silence was deafening, and they didn't give me anything. I gave them a plant and basically said, "I'm sorry." That's actually a true story. And finally, as one lady, she felt bad for me. She said something like, at the end of this horrible, horrible meeting, it got a little bit better at the end, I think, and no one confirmed, or it was just awful. And then the HR department called me up and they said, "Would you fancy a personality test?" And I said, "Sure, I'm a willing learner." So they said, "Here's the questionnaire," and I filled it in and I got a report. And when I read it, it was just a horrible read. I said, this is awful. Is this how people perceive me when I enter the room?" And they said, "Mm-hmm. Would you like to talk about it?" And I said, "I better do that." That's how it actually started, when I could really understand how people were perceiving me, what people saw when I sort of introduced myself. It was really, really a horrible moment for me. But it put me on a specific track in trying to investigate and learn and understand more about myself. And I haven't stopped learning ever since. As you can see, that was some years ago. More than half a life has passed since then. But I'm still learning, and I'm reaching a pretty high level of self-awareness. But I won't reach 100%. At least my wife tells me so.
And wives are always our best judgments of the characters. I think I have a wife too that likes to keep me in check, or at least keep my ego in check if things are going really well. And just she's almost like my PR agent as well.
That's a great example. We have to love them for it because they keep us sort of grounded, and that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very
So
good word for it. Grounded. Yep. There's a bit of a running joke in my family around all of that. So let's move this on to before I get myself in trouble or more trouble. What's one behavioral pattern that you used to judge harshly, but now you have found that you deeply respect?
ooh, that's a brilliant question. I should have prepared something. Now that I respect that I didn't before. I've always been curious about people. I've always been curious about behaviors, and I
Mm.
also asked a lot of questions, sometimes really silly questions, and I've annoyed a lot of people with questions myself. What I what I tend to what I did tend to struggle with was super introvert people who usually said the things that I wanted to hear. Well, no, they said the things they thought I wanted to hear instead of the truth, you know. And for me, when I was young, I interpreted as the truth. Would you like to do this? Oh, yes, absolutely. And then we went away and did whatever it was. And, 3 weeks later, it turns out they hated it. And I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" "Well, And I said, "Well, I didn't know. That's kind of the point here."
Yeah.
That kind of personality style has always troubled me. Still, it does. I know why that is these days. Sometimes it's because I can be, as my wife says, speaking about wives, "You look kind and friendly, but it's basically mostly your face," she says, because I can be quite intense when I put my mind to it, and and so I can be a little bit probably annoying people because I'm not always the greatest listener. I can turn that switch on. I have a switch for it, so I can turn it on, but then I also kind of turn it off. In order to understand these people that I'm talking about, you need to sort of slow down and be patient and lean backwards a little bit and just say, "Okay, if there's something that you would like to ask me, what would it be?" And then you can sort of dig your way through. Is this really what you want to do when it comes to, well, it doesn't matter what it is about. But that kind of personality style is problematic. They hide their emotions. They hide their own true opinions or attitudes. They can be super stubborn. I don't have any of that in me myself, but they are in majority in our society, I would say. So it's a bit of a struggle. I can admit as much.
What a revelation for a behavioral expert and for an author, and the man that taught the world the color-coded language of human behavior. Now, on that point, I want to dig deeper on this because my wife is actually from Sweden as well, and I'm from England.
Oh,
And so I
right.
feel that in your explanation, you may have described what happens in our relationship because she wants to focus on the solution. And maybe you can help me with this. She wants whatever I'm thinking to come out in my head exactly, very direct. Let's say what you want. I'm English, so for me, we tend to go around the topic a little bit and be quite polite about, would you like to go for a walk? It actually means I'm going for a walk. Do you want to come? But we don't say that. We
She
say,
just she just told you you are going for a walk.
right. It's the she wants the direct communication. And when it's not so serious as I mean, not so relaxed as going for a walk or it's something serious, it heightens what we need to do to actually communicate. Like, do you see that different cultures do this as well then? Swedish and English? Like, how does that play out?
That's a great perspective. Firstly, as I haven't met your lovely wife, but I can tell you she's not stereotypical Swedish by doing so. She sounds more like my wife. Out of politeness, would you like to go for a walk? And then putting on the boots, and saying, "What's keeping you?" That's what my wife should say. Dogs need a walk. You better come. She's also very non-Swedish, un-Swedish in that. But Swedes are a little bit, walking around in circles. Generally speaking, our culture is not necessarily as
Interesting.
exquisite and polite as the British culture per se,
Mm,
which I love about you, that you can really use and English is such a rich language compared to Swedish. You have so many ways of saying get the hell out of here, and I just love it. I love it. We tend to say but having that said, when it comes to culture, statistically speaking, reds, yellows, greens, and blues, the extroversion, introversion, task orientation, people orientation, all of that, the DISC profile, it's the same statistics all over the planet. We have the same number of each and every color, and the combinations are basically the same. If you compare England to Sweden or Japan to the United States or Australia to Poland, the statistics are the same. People are the same everywhere when you learn to know them on an individual level. However, the culture obviously differs. The Germans are more bluish, sort of, alles in Ordnung. The Japanese are quite like the Swedes, not saying no if they could avoid it, right? They have, I think it's 29 ways of saying yes, but no way to say really no. But 19 of these yeses are actually a no, but they can't say it because it's not very polite. The Americans are super extrovert. Look at me, showing big egos and so on. And it's greatness and some flaws in all of these behaviors. But the culture is very it's like a wet blanket on top of things sometimes. I mean, you can just compare England and Wales or Scotland or Ireland or wherever. From our perspective, it's kind of Great Britain, sort of.
hmm
But it isn't
mm,
really.
mm,
You can go to London, then you can go to Birmingham or Liverpool. It's quite different. But on an individual level, when you get to know the chap, he's just like you and I. Well, it's not like you get my point.
mm.
You can deal with him or her in a certain way. Of course, there are differences when it comes to English people and Swedish people, but it depends. As I think I pointed out, it actually depends. And being more direct is not necessarily a Swedish thing. It isn't. Not
Mm.
as far as I'm concerned, at least. I don't know if it makes any sense at all.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's almost like there's an overlay of what the society is, and then if you dig down to it, there is the fundamental red, yellow, green, and blue. I do get the response from my wife that she says, "Well, there isn't an English word for this in Swedish sometimes, so that there isn't a way to describe. We just say this or this, like." There isn't that word, it doesn't exist. But that could just be her. Now, Thomas, talking to you, you've kind of revealed that maybe I need to push her a little bit on that and just question whether it is a Swedish thing or not. It might just be a her
What
thing.
what could possibly go wrong here? I would urge you to be a little bit delicate in your approach, let's say. You can blame me. I met this guy, some Swedish guy. What did he know? If he says, what an idiot. Well, there you go.
I love
Anyway, moving on.
Yes, coaching me through my communication with my wife. This is great. So your model has helped millions of people understand personalities. I've used it in corporations. I've used it in various coaching practices that I've done. And what do you believe is the single biggest misconception about difficult people? Like we've all met them.
Uh, we've all met them. Well, the title Surrounded by Idiots is, of course, aimed to this notion that everybody else is an idiot. I am really surrounded by idiots, you know. You enter a meeting, you put your phone on the table. Some have two phones. You start the meeting, you try to follow the agenda. After a while, you realize no one is really paying attention to anything that you are paying attention to. And after a while, you see, you're running your own ideas and you ask your questions and you're running your own agenda, basically. Because, frankly, you're not following the agenda either because you have another strategy for this meeting. And when you leave the meeting, the only thing you can think about is what is wrong with these people. I mean, there are idiots out there. Some of us feel that we are surrounded by idiots, but I have come to the conclusion that some people seem to be surrounded by more idiots than others, right? Some people are idiot magnets who draw weirdos and lunatics to themselves, and you have to ask yourself, why is that? What is going on, really? Who is fooling who? Some people find the idiot in the mirror. Happened to me once, did not end happily. We are all the idiot in someone's story. When you say toxic people or difficult people or tricky people, those people do exist. Of course, you have narcissists, you have psychopaths, you have drama queens, and you know, just over the top perfectionistic people, and you have all of these extremes. But usually, people are just not like you when you think they are complicated. And if you ask around, you're gonna understand you are also kind of a challenging person for other people. I'm not trying to sound, uh, like a cliche or we are all in this together, but in a way we are. It's about understanding, and the internet hasn't helped. Social media hasn't helped because here people show themselves from their darkest sides, really. The only way to really get to know a person is, I mean, I can see your face, Tim, and I can read your facial expressions, micro expressions. I can see your body language. You are nodding slightly towards me now. Yeah, and you can observe me as well. And we sort of interpret each other at the same time when we have this. But there is a scream. I can't
Mm,
hear what's in the background. I can't really. I don't know about your whole body language. We are filtering each other's perception as we go. And if we turn the camera off in a phone call or on Instagram or LinkedIn, it's not going to work at all. And that's, I think, in today's society, I'm not the only one speaking about this. I am getting pretty critical and even a bit scared when it comes to the online conversations that is going on. Only the extremes show. And of course, we get to believe there's a lot of difficult people and silly people and crazy people and weirdos because those are the ones who we get fed, so to speak,
hmm
which I think is
hmm
really bad thing. I really don't answer your question, but I think the problem is bigger than just saying, well, sometimes you meet someone who is a bit toxic, which I think is it's a strange term.
hmm
Psychopaths and narcissists, sure, but that's just 3-4% of the population. You see, those people exist, but it's usually not those ones that you, because they can be very charming and very entertaining for a while too.
Absolutely.
So
They can empower you in ways that you want to be empowered, and they have advantages at a certain point. But this is the distinction is really important. I'm glad you brought it up because even now, right, you don't know. I'm wearing a shirt, but you don't know I'm wearing shorts and I've got no socks on and like below the body, you don't know what's going on in terms of like we're not unless we sit down for a fika and then we actually meet face to face and we so what would you encourage people to do if
for a fika, I am
yeah,
impressed. You picked that one up. Fika.
yeah
Let's go for a
I've
fika.
got a
Yeah.
few words in my vocabulary. Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I write a lot about negotiation and sales. Are there a particular personality type or a kind of color that struggles with negotiations more than others, would you say?
The struggles with negotiations. I think we're all struggle with negotiations from time to time, and I've also trained a lot of people in negotiation skills. I was a sales trainer for, I don't
Right.
know, 10, 15 years, 12 years, and so I got a few tricks up my sleeve. But when it comes to negotiations, I wouldn't say there's a certain, let's say, character that struggles more. It again, I'm sorry to bother you with this, but again, if you misunderstand who's on the other side of the table, any color is going to mess it up. The red one's going to be too quick and say, okay, here's the price, here's the dotted line, just sign the bloody paper and let's move on with our lives. No, that's going to work with red people. They're going to say yes or no, and there you go. The yellow people, they will speak too much. They will oversell to everybody except the yellow people, right? Especially to the green ones and to the red ones. They will absolutely oversell and be too enthusiastic. The green ones are a bit conflict avert. They don't like to be challenged, or they don't like to challenge other people. They will have trouble asking for the deal, basically,
I like
especially when it comes to red people. Because red people are dominant. Okay, so what do you have there? You give me the short version of everything, and they will get a bit nervous and say, I need you to sort of kind of could we just agree on this, you see? And the red person reads this as a weakness. I don't want to deal with weak people.
mm-hmm.
That is a problem. And blue people will give you the Excel sheet instead of the contract. I wouldn't say there's a necessarily depends on who you are meeting. If you are doing high quality deals, high end deals, you're meeting CEOs and so on, the green factor will not help you. There's no way around this. Not saying I haven't met great salespeople with a strong green factor in their communication profile, because I have. But then they need a certain driver, which is something that is beneath the surface. They need a specific workplace motivators. They need to be driven by doing business or by money, for that matter, which is perfectly fine. The sales guy who's driven by money is the best sales guy there is. You only have to show him the money, and then he's going to run like mad. Nothing wrong with that at all. At least not for me. But if you are basically green and you are lacking this business drive, you will struggle because you are too kind, you are too polite, you are too eager to please the other person. Sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you have to do it, of course, of course. Very often it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for you because you're going to get asked hard questions, tough questions. You're going to get questioned yourself. Do you really know what you're doing here? And if you don't have a straightforward answer like this, like a red person or a yellow person will have, you're going to find yourself in a bit of a problematic situation, really.
That's so well put. And I, you wrote the book, so it makes sense that it's well put. The part that I love is that there are a lot of salespeople out there that would probably sit in the green part and need the pit you highlighted about needing a motivator to want them to then suddenly become this innovative, more ambitious and optimistic social type of person. Like, what should someone do if they're sitting there going, but that's not me. I'm introverted, I'm helpful, I'm easygoing. Have they chosen the wrong career, or can they adapt? Can they overlay this personality type to become like how would you tweak them to be successful in sales, or just is it just the motivation? I want to make money, I want to provide for my family.
Easy answer, no, it's not just the motivation, but it's going to help you, of course. This is a really interesting question. I'm glad you asked it, Tim, because you see, mother was wrong. You can't be anything. Sorry,
You
hate me
burst my
for it,
bubble.
but mommy was wrong. Well, yeah, sure, but you see, you see, you can't. When I was a really young man, okay, I would like to propose my answer the following way,
Sure.
if I may.
Absolutely.
When I was a young man, I wanted to be a basketball player. But I'm just about 180 centimeters tall, so I couldn't compete with the guys who were like 210. It's impossible. Too short, too short. Then I wanted to drive Formula One cars. I wanted to be the new Mario Andretti. I didn't fit into the cabin. Too tall. Life has treated me really unfairly. So I had to find a profession where my height didn't really matter. Writing books or giving lectures, keynotes, and so on. No one cares if I'm 1 meter, 1.5, or 2 meters. People couldn't care less. And that is kind of the case here. I could probably struggle within basketball for a while. But then again, why would I if it doesn't come natural for me? If everybody else is way better than I am. When it comes to personality styles and communication skills and so on, we have a natural, let's say, a natural style that comes effortlessly to you, some a certain way to act, and there's no way to saying you should be like this, you should be like that. That's not the point here. If you combine the behavioral colors, the 4 colors, with, let's say, 6 or maybe 7 drivers, 7 motivators, you realize more of your personality. I have met red people who don't like to do business, which is kind of interesting. So they can't sell because they're really not in there for the business. They might be in there for some individualistic reason or for just making money for themselves, but they really don't like the business part of it, and they hate people. You
Oh,
know, these are the
okay.
people who walk around. Have you seen these T-shirts? People, not a big fan.
Like, not a hugger. Yeah,
For my,
I've seen this. Yeah.
yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I
I
steer
bought
clear of
one for
those
my
people.
wife because my wife is super red, only red, nothing but red. She's the greatest salesperson I've ever met. But she has this. I got her one of those T-shirts, and she puts it on, and she leaves the house with them, going shopping. And I said, "You shouldn't do that." Yes, it was so nice today. No one came up and said, "Hey, I recognize your face." She's an author as well. So, but anyways,
Yes,
kidding
yes,
a
I've
little bit,
seen. Yeah.
but just a little bit. But the point is this: if you are red, you like challenging positions. You like a bit of a fight, let's say,
Mm.
verbal fight. You like the challenge. You like to get someone is talking back to you. You like sort of a competition. You like results. You like to win. You have this in you naturally. A yellow person likes to interact. They like to socialize and can convince anyone about anything. They can sell sand to Bedouins and ice to penguins, and everything in between, because they just have it in them. Green people are excellent at actually, let's say, taking care of people. They are exquisite listeners. The best listeners
Mhm.
on the planet are the green people, because they don't have the ego. They don't have to put themselves in the center of anything, really. They would love to be a little bit, leaning backwards and letting you have the stage, which is absolutely fine for them. So if you can use that in sales, that's really, really good. But if you have to be a bit pushy, it's not going to work for you. I'm not trying to crush anyone's career here, but it's going to be a struggle. And you can learn, you can polish your skills, you can learn how to be the best negotiator there is, but you have to work harder on it than, let's say, a red person, because they have this pushy, let's call it a quality then, because sometimes you have to push, right? If you do business, you have to be a little bit in people's faces sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you just have to ask for the deal and say, hey, are you going to make up your mind, or I don't have the whole week to wait for you. You see, blue people, again, they will struggle when it comes to fast decisions. They will struggle with red people, and they will absolutely struggle with yellow people, because yellow people will never hear what you say, because they are the poor listeners. The yellow people, the blue people, we try to use Excel sheets and go for you to say we have an interesting analysis, and here the data clearly shows, and they hand you some folder with numbers and equations, and no one's going to read it. Seriously, no one's going to read it unless there's another blue person on the other side of the table, which means I'll take this folder and I'll get back to you in 3 months. Right. That's not going to close any deal. So am I joking a little bit? Well, maybe, but then again, maybe not, because
Mm.
these characteristics comes to life. Let's say in a negotiation situation. Let's say that's the key here. And again, I'm not saying green people can't be excellent sales reps. I'm not saying green people can't be excellent leaders. I'm not saying that, but they don't come as it doesn't come as naturally for them as for let's say an extrovert. And there are a lot of really lousy red leaders, really lousy yellow leaders, too big egos. So they for sure mess it up from from time to time. That is just the way it is. My advice, and I mentor quite a few people. I have mentored quite a few people through my career, and I get this question: Shouldn't I just try to be the best there is in this business? And I asked him, why are you in this business to begin with? Well, someone told me, and I just stumbled in here 20 years ago, and now I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. And I usually say, I don't say, follow your passion. I don't say that because, what is that? That's actually really dangerous advice. If you're passionate about sales, you're going to be good at it. But if you're good at something, find your passion in something that you're good at. That's so much easier. I don't know what other guests you have, but I guess you stumble into this. How do you create success for yourself in life, self-development, corners, and so on and so forth? I just assume that happens to you quite a lot, Tim. And when you hear all these advices, I would be a little bit suspicious because what's good for you might not be good for me. And I've heard a lot of this. You should journal everything, write everything down. And some people say, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't write things down. You're not going to cement things that is bad for you. Write your goals down every day, 20 times. No, no, hell no. And who are you going to listen to? My own career is, and I get this question, how did you do it? How did you sell all of these books? How did you get translated into 70 languages? How is that even possible? And I've tried to sort of backwards write the blueprint for it, but turns out it didn't work like that. I have 3 high bars. I have a high red bar, a high blue bar, and a relatively high yellow bar, which is what you are listening to right now, because now I can't stop talking because this is interesting. I love this conversation. Listening to myself, basically. And I have a very low green bar. So I do apologize. That is my weakness. I understand that. It's a part of my self-awareness. But for me, it's not a straightforward line. You have to test things. If you're young, test everything. But life and career is like, it's not like you write the you build, you let's say you plan your work and then you work your plan. It's not that easy. For me, it's been more like driving what's it called, bumper cars, right? What happens happens, and you have to sort of just figure it out as you go a little bit. Not playing basketball, not driving Formula One cars. So did I help you at all?
You absolutely did, Thomas. That was amazing. So what I got from that, if I summarize, is one, focus on the things you are good at and try to ensure that that thing also is a passion, because then you will be doing something you excel at with a passion, and that's where you'll get a ton of fuel. But, and then
Yeah.
if you are a salesperson that's green or blue, you'll have to work harder to become more of the red and the yellow. And that's just like the basketball example, that's just the nature of it. And like yourself, you can turn on different parts, knowing that there's areas that you are weaker at. And that's the self-awareness part, to go, well, actually, now I'm dealing with someone who's a green. I'm not going to go full on red at them if I want to influence, persuade, or create value for them. What do you think then, just to finish off on this topic of salespeople specifically, in the first 30 or 60 seconds of a conversation, is there a personality based mistake that people are making that they could change? Is there a mistake that salespeople make literally in the first 30
Absolutely.
to 60 seconds?
Yes. Yes. And here is where the green factor excels, really, because people usually cannot shut up. That's a technical term, by the way. People
I'm
talk
taking that.
too much and listen too little. And the green people, they have this here. They really are brilliant, because what I say to people, they say, okay, so how should I know who's on the other side of the table? How should I sort of adapt to this individual? I don't know who this first meeting and so on. How should I? I say, go green. Shut the lid in the front really, really tight, and then you just open your ears and see what happens. Say something. Come with a statement. Say something dramatic, like, I met this guy last week and he said this business is thriving more than ever. It's good if it's wrong, because then they have to correct you. It's better than asking this, like I was giving the advice many years, ask open-ended questions, ask how and why and what, and all of these things. Sure, you need some information, but begin with a specific kind of bold statement, right? where you say, I heard this and then I heard that. That's got to be amazing. Tell me about that. And they have to correct you because it's in human nature. And when they start to talk how wrong you are and they sort of adjust your view on this or that, then you have a lot of things to observe. You're going to read body language, you're going to read facial expressions, you're going to hear the tone of their voice, you're going to hear what kind of words they are using. Are they using factual based stuff? Are they using emotional language? Are they getting direct? Are they pointing at you with their open hand and saying, no, you're wrong? Or that's an interesting notion. Let me educate you on this topic. Depends on so many. But here, now you have some information. Now you have something to work with.
Mm.
You realize, okay,
Yeah.
mostly red, a
Yeah.
little bit yellowish, kind of yellow green, maybe. It's sort of it's a kind of a people kind of person. You see, people interested in people more than tasks and Excel sheets and gadgets and stuff. So and most people speak too much. They want to sort of they want to what would you say? They want to make a great first impression because first impression lasts, but there can be too much of it, really, right? And you've been in those situations. Well, I've been in thousands of those. Sitting in my car, taking notes and thinking, oh, shouldn't have said that. Why didn't I pay attention? Now, at the end of the 45 minutes in, we're not working with those things at all. Oh, that's bad because that's what I'm selling here. We all messed up like that, and it's just painful and horrible and awful and everything. But you learn. It's the bumper car analogy again, I think, because what happens. The worst mistake people don't do is the worst mistake people do is to not learn from their own mistakes as well. It took me probably, I've been in sales since I was 19, since I left the military service. And I was doing sales until, I would say 10 years only doing sales. And it took me 5 years to realize this doesn't work because that didn't work. I couldn't close this deal because, and to put these pieces together took me some time. I didn't have a mentor or a coach. No one told me, so I had to figure it out on my own. So these days, I usually go back to old notes. That's kind of a character. Maybe I should just repeat mistakes done with this type of person. Right. Don't talk too much, or don't listen too little, or don't go straight to the point, or go straight to the point, or whatever it is. Because I'm just like everybody else, even though I know a lot about human nature. Of course I do, but I still mess it up. Of course I do, because I haven't met everybody yet. And humans are complicated and fantastic and fascinating, everything at the same time. I love it. I have to say, I love it. It's a game. It's a play. Isn't it fascinating? Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree, Thomas. I think what I'm going to
Yeah,
do is
yes.
I'm going to get you a T-shirt that says I love it. I love people. This is amazing. And then I'm going to meet you in Sweden and we can have a fika and sit down and get to know each other even more because I think you're my kind of person. I can sense it.
Oh, you're flattering me. Remember, I'm Swedish. We don't boost our egos at all. That you heard at least, right? We
I
can't
know
do that.
that. Yes. Yes.
That was nothing. Nej, 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 nej. Du pratar lite svenska.
I just know the word alien.
Alien. All right. Alien, as in moose.
As in moose. Yes. It's
As in moose. All
as
right.
in
All right.
moose. But we do come
Right.
to Sweden, once a year. So, to see the alien and whatnot. Um,
Älgarna. To see älgarna. That's the mooses.
oh, Elena, thank you. I mean, this
Älgarna.
is such a free. This is like Duolingo plus relationship tips plus psychology sales. This is all here. I'm just thinking of some of the high performers that I know that then transition, say they've been really successful in sales or in whatever they're doing, and then they suddenly become a leader. Why do some people suddenly become terrible leaders and are not when they perform so well as individual contributors?
Because it's a different job. I
Hmm.
mean, if you're a carpenter and I say, could you be a plumber tomorrow, please? I mean, you're kind of a handyman. You know how to use your tools. And they could say, I could try. Plumbing and carpeting are two different jobs. There you go. The best, the best. Well, I have trained also about 5,000 people when it comes to leadership. And the best skilled specialist usually gets promoted into leading the other specialists. It kind of makes sense because now he knows what everybody else is up to, you know. It's sort of a natural, feels logical a little bit. But then again, it's a different job, and I am a living proof. I could sell, but I couldn't lead other sales reps because, you know, it's a different position. It's a different job, different set of skills, different way of using your social skills, different way of building your social competence. I could sell pretty okay, but I couldn't lead because I didn't have a very strong self-awareness, right? When I built my self-awareness, I also got to be a better sales guy, but also a better leader because I went back to leading people this was in a bank, by the way,
Mm.
many years ago. So I did better the second time. And the third time, I actually did really, really well because I worked on myself. I worked on me, build my self-awareness. I think, you know, people say in sales, you need to be excellent at communication skills, right? So how do you be good at communication skills? When you have to build your social competence. So how do you build social competence? Well, you need to start with self-awareness, right? But self-awareness is like humor. Everybody thinks they have it, right? But you and we know the truth. It's just you and I here. We know there are a lot of people out there with no humor. And we also know some people don't have any self-awareness, but they still claim they do. Oh, I know most of the things. There was an interesting study done in the US. They asked about 3,500 people, are you self-aware? If you rated yourself above average or below average, where would you put yourself? Above or below?
Definitely above.
Interestingly enough, I'm taking a shortcut here, but interesting enough, 95% were above average.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Isn't that interesting? It's like asking us guys, are you a good driver? Everyone is above average.
Yes.
At least you and I. Of course we are.
We are. Yeah.
But it is interesting. And sometimes you need a smack on the head from someone who says, you have some work to do, you know? You
Mm.
have some work to do. You better pay attention to this because if everyone keep telling you you took too much or you took too little or you don't pay attention to details or you're paying too much attention to details, if everyone says the same thing, maybe it's not them. Maybe it is you, really.
Mhm.
It could
Mhm.
be so. Like the HR department, would you like to have a chat about it? And I said, I better do that. And it helped me tremendously throughout my career.
Absolutely. And did you envisage the book? Let's bring it up front here. Did you envisage this book becoming such a global success when you wrote it? Was that part of this, or you just knew like because now there's obviously a big is there a big responsibility that comes with reaching millions of people with this book? And this is part of a series. There's many books surrounded by setbacks and others.
Yeah. Bad managers, bad bosses, and
Vampires as
crazy
well.
employees, and yeah. Psychopaths, narcissists, and liars is the latest title. Actually, that's the free ad here. No, but
I would love to
here
read
I
it.
would love to say, this was the plan with putting the book out there, and this is how we went about. No, first of all, I had to self-publish the book because no one believed in it. Maybe you
No
heard of the story.
way.
I don't know.
That's
I
awesome.
went to my I was publishing crime novels. Really. I published 4 crime novels, and I had this idea: why not combine writing? Because I love to write. Because that's a part of my own motivational, let's say, intrinsic driver. Let's say I love to create stuff from a, you know, total empty piece of paper. For me, that's brilliant. And maybe I should combine my work with my writing. So I told them I would like to write a book about behavioral types, communication styles and so on. It's going to be about colors and a disc profile and so on and so forth. It's going to be called Surrounded by Idiots. And here's the cover. That's my own cover design, really. Did you see back there?
Wow.
And they looked at me with horror in their eyes and they said, that's the stupidest thing we ever heard. You're a crime novelist, you see. You shouldn't do this at all. First of all, it's a stupid title and it's an ugly cover. Don't do it. So I was shopping around in the whole publishing industry in Sweden, and they all basically said the same thing. I was the idiot. Fair enough. I invested little money that I had, and I self-published the book. And even the first print, even though I paid them, and I said, let's print 10,000 copies. I'm going to sell this like mad. You see, no, let's print 3,000. You see, break even is, I think, 1,900. So you're going to make a tiny little profit. And I said, 3,000. 800 hours work, 3,000. What are you talking about? No. I said, we're printing 3,000 books, not 10. So we printed 3, and then 3, and then 3. Killed a fly there, and then another 3, and then we had a great book sale in Sweden, which we have mid-February every year. And I said, let's go for 10, right? Please, let's go for 10,000 books. And they said, okay, I'm paying you for it. And we sold, are you ready? We sold 10,000 books. They were put out in all the bookstores in Sweden and online in 1 hour, 10,000 books, just like this. And then I realized, this might be bigger than I thought. This might be even bigger than I actually thought myself. So then I got myself a literary agent, and she said, we can make this work. And we put it out, and she started to work. And so it took a couple of years. This was published in 2014. It got published in English 2019, I think. That's how long it took to
Oh my
actually
goodness,
get it
right.
out.
5 years, yeah.
But we wallpapered the whole nation here in Sweden. It was #1 for 30 months in a row here in Sweden. So I finally, I almost
amazing.
got tired of seeing it, and I got some haters, of course. Some people said it's a silly book. The title is really about the author himself. Well, that's fine. You need some haters as well, right? But now it's 70 languages. And the interesting part is I'm not surprised really, because as I said before, people are people. When I get feedback emails from New Zealand, it's the same content as in from Singapore or from Canada or from London. People say the same thing. Aha, you're talking about my wife, or that's my boss, or that's me, or I am so, and then fill in any color, and I haven't, and they send me experiences and how they used it, and it's absolutely fascinating. May I tell you just a little story beside the
Please,
business point? Is it okay?
please,
I
yeah.
was in Ghent in Belgium last year, doing a lecture tour there, and the publisher in the Netherlands, which is the same because they speak Flemish, they or Dutch, as they say in English, Flemish Dutch.
Dutch,
I
yeah,
think it's the same.
yeah.
Anyways, so we went to this bookstore, and there was a line of people, and at the side there was a young boy standing there, I would say 12, 13 maybe, and with a pile of books in his hands, just standing there, and he had his parents with him. And I said, so what do you want? Well, and he was a bit shy. And I said, well, come up here and see, well, let's have a chat and see what's going on. And he said, well, you see, and his parents were standing, they stood still in the background. He came up to me and said, well, I've been reading your books and it's so fantastic. And now I like to have your books signed. I read all of them. And I said, but then you have all of my books. You don't need to buy them again. You don't have to do that. But I want noticing your signature. And the mother shouted, tell him why you like the books. And then he told me the story. Well, you see, I've been bullied in all my life, from kindergarten up till last year. And then I read your book, he said. And it changed my life completely. I learned how to deal with the bullies, and everything is absolutely amazing these days. And he started to cry. Big tears running on his cheeks.
Mm,
And I just gave him a hug and said, well, come here. And he's sort of shaking from this moment. And
yeah.
these moments, I have so many of these stories. It's fascinating. People have gotten married based on surrounded by idiots. I'm no guru, I just put it in a book. But in order to touch people in that way, for me, that's very, very, it's very humbling, I would say, in a way. And I'm very, very, very happy. And it's not only business people. It seems to be people everywhere from all walks of life. And I think that's why the spread globally has worked, because it's not only a business book, it's not only a relationship book. There is a new edition out now where I took away the business part. It's going to be a business edition specifically for those types of people. But the newest edition is revised and expanded. There's a lot of new stuff in there, 100 new pages in there. Same price, so don't get upset here. It's not a new book, but that's the first edition. So, but it's basically how to deal with people on a more on a more general level, let's say. And people say this is super useful when it comes to talking to your neighbors or because I think, I mean, just the annual barbecue in the garden at your neighbors, you know. And there's this another neighbor 4 houses down, and that's such an idiot. Oh, maybe I should try this method and see how it works and make him talk and see if I can sort of get my way through to him this year. And then people say, yeah, I could actually manage him a little bit better because now I have something in my toolbox. I think that's why it works actually, and it is very humbling. It is. As a Swedish person, it's a bit surreal, frankly.
How do
I
you
have to
how
admit,
do you
it's a
deal
bit
with that
surreal.
as a Swedish person? Like, because at the beginning of the conversation, you're saying that Swedish people don't necessarily find it easy to take compliments. And
No,
here
we
you,
don't do it. No, again, going back to the wife discussion, my wife keeps in ground and say, "You take out the garbage today. It's your turn." And I said, "Yes, dear, of course, I'm going to do that." And I think it's a good way. I think it was good for me. It was. I'm going to be really open to you now, Tim. It was good for me. This didn't happen when I was 24, 25, 30, 35, because then my ego was still too big for my own good, I would say. I think I would have lost contact with reality if it happened when I was too young. So for me, it's good that it happened. You know, you see this face. I passed the big 50 some years ago now. You know, so for me, it's okay. Yeah, I've been around. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. It's yeah. I'm happy if people are happy. If they're not happy, well, what can I say? You can't
you
be loved by everybody, right?
you're looking good
So
for past 50. You're looking. I wouldn't. You're charming, charming, and the hair's looking very good, Thomas.
I
Um.
told you I'm Swedish. Don't do that.
So um.
I
No,
gave you the instruction manual. See how hard it is to make
it's
people listen.
difficult, isn't it?
Oh,
It's
just
difficult.
kidding. Now we know each other. We can joke around a little bit, right?
Exactly.
That's what I
Exactly.
love that's what I love about the English attitude. You can make jokes, and you're really good at making conversation going. I love it. You're so much better at this than us Swedes, generally speaking. No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Just checking if my wife is listening in. No, what I'd love to do now in the last 5 minutes, just quickly, is a fast fire round. I'm not sure how it will go, but I feel like we've reached a point where you would dominate in this, and I mean, what could go
Oh,
wrong? Like,
there.
why not? Um, so let's
Let's
just
do it.
try it.
What
Let's
is it?
just see what happens. Fast fire round then.
See what
Okay.
happens.
Red, yellow, green, or blue, which one struggles most with feedback?
Green.
Green. What about patience?
Should I offer
Do you
some
want to
explanation
go
or?
one sentence of why? Yeah,
They are sensitive to negative critique and sensitive to negative opinions about themselves.
this is very helpful to know. So if you're sitting next to a green person, they're on your team, and you've got to give feedback.
Go easy
That's
on them. Go easy on them.
go easy.
Take it
Okay.
easy, slowly but surely.
How about patience? Who struggles most with patience?
Red. Oh dear.
Instant
It's or everything. Everybody's too. Everyone is too slow. Life is short. Let's get going.
commitment.
What kind of
That's yeah. Depends on the
romantic
context,
or
but
or,
maybe
or
no. Let's not say romantic. Let's say sticking to what they say they would do,
yellow?
and then letting go.
Shiny object syndrome is the yellow trait. You know.
Oh, on to the
Oh, it's
next thing.
new.
On to the
What's up
next
over
thing.
there? On to the next thing.
Mm.
Constantly.
Yeah, that's it. Mm. Okay, and then finally, letting go of something could be.
We say green again. They can be really, really stubborn. They don't forget. They
Mm.
never forget. They will look at you and say, "No, no, I've forgiven you," but they haven't.
Okay, what one behavior makes you instantly more influential?
Yellow people have a way to, in their charming persona, win people over. They have a specific way of making people feel seen and feel comfortable and inspired.
What?
That's their main gain, I would say.
Hmm, I like that. What one phrase destroys trust instantly?
I think you're an idiot. That means that you're just talking about yourself, basically.
How apt. This is great. And what one daily habit is of elite communicators? Like,
Hmm. Specific around communication, one daily habit. Oh, that's a negative. How do I turn it around? Assume everyone you meet has something to teach you. That
oh my,
will make you a better listener.
oh my goodness, that is absolute gold. Wow. And I realize we're coming up to time, and I know you've got to get off and have your scargan or your your
It's
cinnamon
fine. I
bun.
have time. I have fine. I have an
You
hour to
do?
the next London call, basically. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I have time.
well, I
I
am
have
really
time.
enjoying this. I am
Me
really.
too, frankly. So fire away. Do you have more of this?
I
That was fun.
I I do. I do. Okay, if someone feels misunderstood in their career, they're perhaps stuck or frustrated, what change should they make today?
This it's probably related to another person. They should sit down with this individual and say, you know, sometimes I feel, and then they fill in what it is: misunderstood, miscomprehended, or just misused. Basically, I don't think you pay attention to me at all. That's just my feeling. Can we have a chat about it? Can we talk about this? I
Mm.
might be wrong, but this is how I feel. It could be me not understanding you. That is what I would do, really. Try to start a conversation, not judging, not saying, you are so terrible and so bad and you're a horrible person because look at me now. No, sometimes I feel like this. It could be we don't understand each other. Let's talk. That usually works like a charm.
I can see, yeah, you've reduced the intensity of the statement. It feels less firm and more flexible and open to change if needed. What question should everyone ask themselves before entering an important conversation?
How do I make this individual feel important?
That's cool. That's really
Everyone wants to feel important. Yeah.
on that then, is that something that we when we're not even just trying to sell, but meeting other people, that's something that we forget all the time. That if we just remembered, how do I make this
Yes.
person feel important, it would work.
I think so. Too many of us are walking around with these kind of big egos in a way that tells us I need to show them that I am important. But if you really are important, they already know this. And if they don't know it, then maybe you're not so important as you might think yourself. Of course, you're important to you, to your family, to your loved ones, to your neighbors, and maybe all of this. But maybe you shouldn't focus so much on yourself. Here is where again the green factor excels because they don't do this. They don't, even though they might be the most important person in the room. They would act Swedish and say, "No, I'm nothing. I'm so stupid. Don't look at me. Don't listen to me. Listen to him instead. Listen to Tim. He's much better than I am." You know. But it's a very charming trait
Mm.
actually, and it works perfectly in certain conditions.
What if you've got someone in your team that's not engaging or is not necessarily lazy, but not listening to you as a leader? How can you boost your influence or communication with them?
Same thing as the three answers back in time here. You have a sit down and say, okay, this is how I see the situation. This is my interpretation of our, cooperation or whatever you want to call it. How do you see it? You start a conversation. Sometimes I feel you're a bit off, you're not paying attention. You're really not listening from my perspective because how do I know? Well, you said yes, but then you did something completely different, you know. I mean, from a leadership perspective, what I don't listen to people's words super much, frankly, very often, but I do observe their actions very, very carefully. If you say A and just constantly do B or maybe even C, there's going to be a feedback conversation in a very few days, really. But if you say A and you deliver A, perfect. If you say B and deliver B, perfect. C, C, perfect. But A and C, those doesn't match at all. You have to have a conversation. And sometimes you understand, you say, I want to help you to feel better about this. I want to help you to feel motivated. I want to help you to feel strong and self-reliant and everything. I want to help your self-confidence. But I need your help to help you. I mean, leadership is a two-way street. It's not about leading people. It's about making them want to be led. Hallelujah, right? But it's actually that kind of point. The best leaders that I know, what they do is they tell people what they are trying to do. That's what my book, Surrounded by Bad Bosses and Lazy Employees, is about. It's leadership from two different perspectives, really. If you know that I am trying to lead you the following way, then you can help me to do that in order for you to get the best out of it, really. But if you think I'm just a stupid, silly boss that doesn't know anything, well, you're the one who's going to suffer mostly from it. So you need to have these are hard conversations. I'm not saying you can just sit down and then you're just going to solve everything. No, it's going to be tricky. Of course, it's going to be tricky. But what's the alternative? Reading people's minds? Are you a mind reader? I don't think so.
I am
I'm
not.
not.
I'm not. No, no. So, thinking of mind readers, do we think AI is going to amplify misunderstandings in communication, or is it going to reduce it?
Ooh, that's a heated discussion. My view on AI is very simple. I think AI is like not like any technology because it's special. It Some people say it can't think, but I think it can think. In the near future, it will think, make decisions, trying to get out of awkward situations and so on. I'm a bit scared of AI, and I think what we put in there is what's going to tell us what we're going to get out of it, but out from it. But I think AI can never replace human connection. It can hand you a manual, it can hand you the book. It can tell you what's in my book there behind you, surrounded by it. It can give you a summary of the book. It can never teach you how to do it in reality because you have to go out there and experiment yourself. You have to meet people in real life and actually try to get along with real human beings. That cannot be done
Mm.
via AI. It just cannot. And people are already getting tired of AI, really.
Hmm. Hmm.
Instagram and LinkedIn well, all the other platforms are just so. I mean, the saturation of AI material, people are getting fed up already. It's just been what, a couple of years or something. I don't know. I I learned about ChatGPT. I think it's less than a year ago. I've experimented. I've tried it. It can give you ideas, but you have to do your work yourself. You just have
Yeah.
to. And if you think you're going to rely on AI, you know, even journalists, and at the end of this, you've probably seen those memes at the end of the article in the actual newspaper. Would you like me to write this in a different style? And they just put it out there. Jesus, no. You have to. I think there's going to be two teams in the future. It's going to be an A team and a B team. The A team is going to be the people who still know how to deal with people. It's going to be like this really, really premium skill. And there's going to be a B team who can automate everything. Now, what can be automated goes to Silicon. What cannot be automated will be the A team, and they will make the most money. They will be the most popular people. They will feel genuine and authentic because they know how to deal with human beings. And as long as there's human beings around, you know, for me, that is perfectly clear, perfectly clear. I'm working on a specific solution that will help people, yeah, use AI for sure. Do what it can do, and do what it can do to help you, but don't think it's going to do all the work for you. People understand. I mean, there are apps these days you can answer text messages using AI. I mean, good lord! If you can't even write in, yes, I'm coming at 9 o'clock. Thank you for the invitation. If you can't do that even, then what good are you? Seriously, seriously.
Yeah,
And people
absolutely.
know when you have put in the effort, right? They understand if it's you or if it's a machine. Like question, how do you make people feel important? Well, you pay them some attention. Everyone wants to feel important. Even though you might be the biggest AI guru on the planet, Tim, I don't give a crap because I want you to address me as a human being. I want you to talk
Mm.
to me as I am Thomas, and not one of your AI, whatever it's called, robots or that's not going to change. We are wired from, the brain, the human brain is, the big brain came up, it depends on who you're asking, somewhere between 70,000 and 200,000 years ago. It's the same brain in here. Of course, we have gotten taller and heavier, and we live a little bit longer, and we have learned to use high tech and everything, but we have the same brain. We are wired exactly the same way, so we feel when it feels. We can't necessarily always, let's say, explain why it feels bad, but we know it feels bad. It feels off. This is not a real person.
Mm.
If you're using an avatar now, it can look like you a little bit, but I have seen really, really well-known people on podcasts, they do this commentary on YouTube and so on, and I can see the difference. I can hear the voice, I can see the face, but you can see there's no hesitation, no natural pauses, no eyebrows going up, no stumbling. Everything is perfect. It looks exactly the same, but it's not.
That's the
That just
feeling.
frustrates me, and
Yeah.
I'm not the only one,
No, no, no,
for
I get it.
sure.
And there's AI slop coming out left, right, and center from all types of
Mm-hmm.
articles and content, and that's only going with automation. That's only going to become it's just noise,
Yeah,
right? And so therefore, compassion,
yeah.
empathy, all of these skills that you're teaching. Okay, last one. What does it mean to truly understand a human? And is there anything you're working on as a human being? That was two.
That was two. Number one, I think it's the bumper car analogy again. You can, the more you read about human nature, the more you read about personality styles, motivators, interests, basic values, all of these things, body language. The more you learn, the more you read, the more you learn. Sure, you can, but you can never program yourself in order to get away from every situation. There's going to be an X factor somewhere in there, and you need some imagination, and you need to be a little bit, let's say, on your toes and be willing to flex back and forth a little bit. It's just the way it is. I mean, that's what makes human nature so fascinating. You will never predict everything. You can predict a lot of it, but not everything. For me, that's what keeps me going. Can I learn more? It's the same thing as what do I work on with myself. I am really I'm I have some as I have a really high a high red bar, which means I am quite driven. I don't
Mm.
like to sit still. I'm quite impatient, quite impatient. I have a really high blue bar, which means I am very orderly. I like to keep things neat and tidy. I use a lot of Excel sheets and I make lists and I follow up the lists and I tick the boxes off and I do everything that is on the bloody list because otherwise, why did I put it on the damn list to begin with? So that is what I'm doing. I am also on stage and in interviews. I have a relatively high yellow bar and I have trained myself to use each or the other. I'm not trying to be all of it at the same time because that's going to confuse me and you probably. But I know how to turn the red factor on, boom.
Mm.
Then I can run like mad and I can turn it off and then I can go full yellow as in front of 2,500 people because they need some entertainment as well. They don't want me to show PowerPoint slides reading like a robot, like the blue factor would do probably. So what I'm usually working on since many years is the green factor because that's my greatest weakness. That is my greatest weakness. I touched upon this before, but I
Mhm.
think if you should work on you, some people say, well, just find out what you're good at and polish that even more. No, that's a stupid advice. Don't do that. Strengths Finder is another tool. I understand what they are aiming at, but what you're good at, it comes natural for you to develop and to work more on. And if you play tennis 5 times per week, you're gonna get better if you have a good opponent on the other side of the net. You're going to get better naturally. You don't have to struggle with this. But the weakness is to lower your, to raise your lowest level of whatever it is. For me, I'm not an excellent listener unless I turn it on. But then again, when you work on you, a piece of advice for every young person here who wants to be, most people come to me and say, I want to be more read. I meet this on a weekly basis. I want to be more read. And I say, you can teach yourself and train yourself to be more read in the moment, but do not violate your true personality. Don't try to be read if you're not read. If you meet read people, go read for an hour or two. But then you're going to get stress-related diseases, physical ones. If you try to be read 24/7, 365, it's not going to work because, you see, my friend, you're not read.
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying, I want to play basketball so badly. I'm going to wear plateau shoes and learn how to run. No, I'm sorry. It's not going to work. You can do it for a while, and then you have to do what's best for you also. You cannot be everything, but you can be more than you think you can be. Something like that.
That's such a great way to put it. Wow. What a conversation, Thomas. I really admire. I mean, this has been one of the top three, at least, probably top one once I reflect on this, conversations I've had on this show, because I admire your
Right.
vulnerability. I admire you taking us on the journey, but I can tell if you were an avatar, this wouldn't have worked. It's the human connection, the depth
Thank
of
you.
experience, like the feeling between us, like I can feel it, even though that you're over there in Sweden, I'm here in Singapore. Like there's a feeling where we're on a similar vibe and we're communicating, and you can't create that out of AI. You have to be human to human. I believe, like, just and the way that you just, I love that you self-published your book and you went with it and you faced off to the whole of Sweden and you showed them that this book needed to be out there in the world and the journey that that took you on. And I love as well, and what I see myself is if that success had happened to you earlier, it would have run away with you. And I think, yeah, as I'm glad I've got my wife here to kind of keep that barometer where it is, and also I love because there's people listening to this that will have taken so much from this conversation around just you're very, very inspiring, very charming, very charming. And I can't wait to come and see you speak somewhere.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go and
Uh,
find out where you're speaking and come and see you because we need to do more of this.
right. All right. All right. I was in Singapore last year for 30 hours.
Oh, are you
I
coming
didn't see
again?
anything of it.
You didn't. You were
Hopefully.
at the expo center or the airport.
No, I gave a workshop for entrepreneurs on leadership. Started at midnight Swedish time. So yeah, that was an interesting.
Oh my
Everyone
God.
was so polite and so nice and so kind and so welcoming. It was fantastic. The little that I saw, then I had to go home again.
You've
I usually hear this. Oh, you went to Singapore and Hong Kong and Sydney. Oh, how did you like Sydney? And I say I don't know. I have no idea. No time to sit. Didn't you stay a couple of days while going there? But if I would do that every time, I
it's
wouldn't
your
get
red.
anything done. You see.
That's your red coming
That's
out.
the red factor. I want to take my wife with me and experience things, you see, because coming home, I was in Hong Kong. I'm going to show you the pictures. And she's going to say, yeah, I've seen those online. What happened? Okay, don't bother me. I wasn't there. She's not going to pick it up. But if she comes with me,
Ooh.
we do that a while. Sometimes we go to London, we go to Paris, we go
Yeah.
to, places. Um, yeah,
Would you recommend your
you didn't
crime
ask
novels?
that, but
Would you
would I
recommend your
recommend my crime novels?
Yeah.
Boo. Well, I don't think you're going to find those.
Your
None of
wife writes
those
crime
has
novels.
been. Yeah, she's the real author in the family. Really, she's an excellent. She writes historical dramas like Downtown Abbey, based on the place. I say this for a specific reason. It takes place where we stay because we live in this really old Swedish mansion. It's an old heritage stuff place from actually the King Gustav III's closest advisor.
Oh my goodness.
He was the marshal of the court. He built this house. So we live in historical environment. As she writes about that, but she also writes brutal, horrible crime novels as well with blood and gore and stuff. So she's really good.
That's what
She's a
my
really good
wife's
author.
into. So I will put her on to your wife. and she'll start buying her books. So she's definitely into Swedish crime. My wife.
Good, good, good.
Is there
Love it.
anywhere you want to send people, and how can people reach you? How do you want them to contact
Um,
you? What do you want them to do next?
well, I have a website surroundedbyidiots.com, and most websites it's not good enough, so we are rearranging it right now because mostly the design has sort of moved on, but the website hasn't. So so you find me on probably on TikTok. I think my team puts me out there sometimes. I'm on LinkedIn. You find me there, and Instagram and so on. I'm starting a YouTube channel
You
this winter,
definitely
actually.
should. You definitely should.
Going to YouTube 10 years after everybody else.
You're going to go
But I
viral.
like this longer form content. That's more me than I don't like social media very much. I'm terrible at it, really. I can't seem to be very persistent because I don't understand it fully, and it's too much AI in there basically. YouTube is interesting because you can sort of put your mind to it. You can sort of elaborate on things. You can talk for 30 minutes or an hour or something. I listen to a lot of podcasts, usually from YouTube, when I'm driving my car, and I put the phone on the. No,
Mm,
we can't do that.
mm.
If it would have been legal, I would have put it on so I can see the faces and still listen to the voices, because it gives me more of a this visual stuff. It's interesting. So that's where you can find me. Everything is called Surrounded by It. It's Thomas Erikson, something on the same theme. Yeah. So please have a look and
Please,
see.
please, everyone go there. You are so good, Thomas. You are so good. This, as I said,
I
has been
appreciate it.
the one of the most enjoyable conversations I've genuinely had on this show. Very, very pleased to have met you and to have done this. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we're at the end of the year. It's 2025, it's come to a close, and now you're reviewing the year. What I've got for you is the Objection Handling Mastery course. This is going to help you elevate in 2026. This is the difference between going from average to world class. I'm going to show you the number one way to master emotional control when you're triggered, when you're frustrated. Can you imagine what your life would look like if you could respond with clarity, leadership, and influence? Welcome to the Objection Handling Mastery course. This is how you're going to elevate in 2026 and get off to a flying start. I've put together this short course to make it happen for you. It's in 5 easy digestible modules that you can devour on a weekend and implement on Monday. This is the School of Success, my online learning platform that's going to help take you from average to world class.